Hello everyone, and welcome back to another discussion. I'm going to apologize in advance. My throat is a little bit sore right now, so this audio quality might not be that great. But in this discussion, I wanted to talk about the upcoming events Adepticon 2020 and Warhammer Fest 2020, and what the big announcements might be. Now, Games Workshop has been putting out a lot of articles on the Warhammer community page, sort of teasing and discussing what might be appearing at these two events. But more so, they haven't really been giving us details. They've been just saying it's going to be these epic, amazing announcements. They're going to be jaw dropping and so on and so forth. So, some of the things that I've been thinking about as they've been discussing this is one, Adepticon's in March 25th to the 29th, so it's the end of March. By that point, I believe that the Psychic Awakening series should be completed. We just had The Greater Good come out this past weekend. The next edition of Psychic Awakening is going to be the Saga of the Beast, which should be coming out here presumably in the next couple weeks, just based on the last few releases. And then after that, it's going to be the Engine War book involving, Imperial Knights, Adeptus Mechanicus, Chaos Demons, and so forth. And at that point, as far as I can tell, they've already covered basically all of the factions, so that should be the end of the Psychic Awakening. What does that mean for the game? Now, a lot of people have been speculating that it's going to be the end of 8th edition, that 9th edition is going to be coming out soon, and presumably that they're going to announce that at either Adepticon or Warhammer Fest, which would make sense given the pattern. Now, I've only played since 8th edition, so I don't really have the experience to talk about how all the other previous editions ended and, when the new ones came out. But my understanding was that for 7th edition, the last codex to be released was the Sisters of Battle, which of course, that codex just came out about a month ago. So all these kind of clues are adding up to maybe it's going to be 9th edition is one of these big jaw-dropping announcements. But that alone I don't think would warrant this much hype. And to be fair, Games Workshop tends to hype things up a little bit more than they probably should. But I believe that in addition to 9th edition coming out, there's going to be some major releases. Mostly Primarchs. We've had Magnus the Red and Mortarion, absolutely gorgeous, beautiful models, but we only have one Loyalist Primarch so far. Now, with all these new things occurring, the Psychic Awakening, the enemies are getting stronger, the Imperium needs somebody else. And I really think that they're going to either bring back, most likely I would say either Layman Russ or Lionel Johnson. Just based on some of the lore that's been developed over the past few years, it's hard to say, really. As much as we want to see more Primarchs, I feel like that might be leaving out some of the Xenos. However, that's something else that may be announced as well, is a new Xenos race. Now, if you follow Chapter Master Valrak on YouTube, he already had a discussion about this. I'll include a link in the description below. But I think that the Zote model that was shown at Las Vegas Open 2020 just a month ago or so, maybe they're going to bring them back in as a main faction for 40k as well, and not just the Blackstone Fortress spin-off game. Kind of hard to say. Or just maybe some new Xenos faction that we've never even heard of before. I think that'd be really cool. It may be kind of interesting to have a new enemy to fight. I feel like the Imperium gets a lot more of the love from Games Workshop because they're kind of the centerpiece faction for Warhammer 40k, but I really think that we could use some more love in all different areas, get some new Xenos factions out there, just because, again, the Xenos don't really fight with each other. They're all kind of their own independent factions, so you don't see, the Tau teaming up with the Necrons or anything like that. So it'd be interesting to have kind of another wild card in there, so to speak. One of the other things that I think could be released as well, and again, this is something that Chapter Master Valak kind of covered. A few months ago, there was this really, really grainy image that showed up that teased, most likely, as far as we can tell, a Primaris land speeder and a Primaris biker unit. Now, that got me thinking, it's like, okay, if they are going to be doing a new edition, if they are going to be bringing back Primarchs, maybe it's going to be Jagatai Khan, if I'm saying that correctly, for the White Scars. because I feel like they kind of got shafted with the Space Marine re-release, because again, White Scars, they're very much a sort of cavalry unit. They're meant to have land speeders, they're meant to have bikes, and there isn't a Primaris unit for that yet. Yeah, sure, they got a new Primaris character, but that was it. They didn't get anything new bike-wise, and that's kind of disappointing for them. So it could be maybe they'll bring him back as well. I don't know. I could be wrong about all of this, honestly. There's, so many Primaris that are technically not dead. They're just missing or kept in stasis or stuff like that, so there could be a lot more coming back to that. Continuing the discussion of a potential 9th edition, my guess is they would do something similar to the way they released 8th edition, in that they would have, a novel describing the new lore as it's occurring, whatever the new setting is, and then they'd release a battle box with, half one faction, half another faction, and then the new rulebook as well, similar to what they did with Dark Imperium. And assuming that these teasers, this grainy image that was leaked, is actually accurate, maybe it's going to be some kind of like Space Marine cavalry force where you have, land speeders and bikers en masse, and maybe like a few new other models as well, new HQs, and maybe a new troops unit, something along those lines. And it could totally be a different organization too if it's a whole new edition. The way I see it, 8th edition is pretty well rounded, and again, I've only ever played 8th edition, so I can't really speculate beyond that, but it seems like it's pretty well rounded. Yes, there's definitely some things that need to be tweaked, and I don't see them veering too far off from how 8th edition worked. I honestly think they would just take some of the feedback from the fans, tweak the game a little bit, and then re-release it as, 9th edition. It's really hard to say, to be honest. I'm super excited for both of these. I really wish I could go to Adepticon. It's in Chicago. That would mean, for me, a plane ticket and hotel reservations and all that, and I really can't afford that right now. But I will be paying attention to the Warhammer community page as they make the announcements, and I'll hopefully get back to you guys with the jaw-dropping, as they say, announcements that will be coming from that. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the like button. That helps me out a lot. Be sure to subscribe as well. That helps you guys know as soon as I post a new video. For my Patreon subscribers, I love you guys. You guys rock. You make this happen. It makes it a lot easier for me. And we'll see you guys in the next video.